Hello and welcome to Elevate Your Wellbeing Contagious Care, session number 22. And so good to have you here this morning. And we're in a wonderful celebration stage of the 2-month mark. We've hit the 2-month mark. I made a commitment probably 2.5 months ago, and it took me 2 weeks to actually activate it. But you know, I was prompted in the middle of the night to put on these sessions for all of us through COVID-19, just to help strengthen and support relationships and to help elevate our well-being wherever we're at on that continuum. So it feels like an achievement celebrating the 2-month mark. And I'll tell you where we're going to go in the future as things are unfolding and we're allowed to do a whole lot more now with the restrictions lifting. So welcome Marion and Margaret and Carol. Thanks for saying hi. And please give a thumbs up or a love heart if you've come in so I know you're there. And what level of well-being are you at today on a scale of 1 to 10? Just put it in the chat box and maybe estimate why you're at that level. Be guided by, have some intuition on why you're at that level today. It always helps in gaining awareness of why we are at the level we are. So today we're not only celebrating the 2-month mark, but we are celebrating the fact that we have gone through this together as a team. There is actually, I just looked up this morning, there are 297 of us all together, either watching the lives or watching the replays. And it's been so encouraging to me to just look at those stats because, you know, the majority watch the replays because most are working or doing something at 11 o'clock. But there's been 320 replays for a previous session, just I think it was the Power of Words, but there's, you know, the replays are up to averaging at around 280 views. And it's just so encouraging knowing that you guys are really investing into your own self-development, elevating to a higher level, taking the next step up to reach your higher level of well-being. Good morning, Alita. Thanks for letting me know you're here, and just jot down where you're at on a scale of 1 to 10 for your well-being this morning and why. So there's another celebration besides supporting and nourishing and encouraging one another in this beautiful contagious care group of wonderful, wonderful people. Half of you I know, half of you I don't know, and that's because the half of you that I do know have shared it with your friends. So I just want to thank you for that also. Thank you for seeing the value in these sessions yourself and then clicking the share button to give a gift to your friends so that they can enjoy growing and being strengthened and encouraged as well. Because you know the word encourage, I don't know whether you've ever broken it down, but it's got the word courage in it, right? And so to encourage means to give courage. And that's exactly what you're doing when you're sharing this with your friends. And it's exactly what you're doing when you're actually tuning in to the videos and taking action to respond, because that gives you more courage. Rather than just listening with your ears, you're actually activating your brain and responding to these sessions by engaging. And that certainly helps me. I can't tell you enough how much that enables me to connect more with you, more deeply, and just more intimately, knowing that I'm not just talking to a camera here. So thank you for engaging. And the other thing we're celebrating is the fact that we're only 3 off the 300 mark. And so I'm I'm just wanting to catch that person who is our 300th member, and I'm going to send a free book of my international best-selling book that I co-authored, had the privilege of co-authoring, called Elevate Your Wellbeing. I know it's backwards there, but I'm going to send that in the post to the 300th member. So I'm going to have to keep a close eye on who that was, and I may even have to be asking if anyone else has caught it, because you've got to be on there at the time when that 300th member comes in. But we're a team. We'll work this out, but it's worth celebrating, because life is worth celebrating. So today, how are you going to share your care with others? How are you going to be contagious? One way of doing that is discovering what is in your self-care toolkit. And I'm just going to look at this morning on, have we got 5 top tools? This is a session where you will do some active work. Doesn't mean we're going to be getting up and doing star jumps, lots of exercising, no, but that is a huge part of well-being, as you know, and you know it's an area of well-being that I love. I just feel like I was created to move. I enjoy that process, but if you don't enjoy it, it's still good to start softly and steadily and slowly on making sure you're moving in some way each day as much as you can, because that does activate your well-being. But we're not going to be doing exercises, those sorts today, but I'm going to ask you to reflect on this. Of all the topics we've covered, which is 22 video sessions now, and I know some of you have been in here for every session. Margaret, Clough, for example, Carol and Alita. It's amazing how you just show up every single time, and I'm so encouraged by that. So you'll be able to answer this pretty quickly, I think. Just put in the chat box, what has been, as you reflect on all the sessions we've looked at, what has been the most valuable tool that you have picked up along the way? So I'm going to take a drink while you answer that in the chat box. Notice I have my lemon in the drink. It really helps to detox. Just a little tip there. What have been your most valuable tools? If that's hard to just answer quickly, I'm going to suggest another one. What perhaps has been your favorite topic? Okay, you will have all just let something jump out at you. What we've covered so much when our core attitudes collide with our different temperaments, when we're having to shut down under the one roof and deal with conflict issues, what's been underneath your anger, that was another topic. Developing positive mindset, constructive mindset. We're going to look further at growth mindset later versus fixed mindset. Hello, Christine. Lovely to have you here, my darling daughter. You're doing well to be in watching today with a load of twins by your side, I'm imagining. So what are the most valuable tools that you have in your toolbox already? Because if we have a toolbox, I like to think of it on my arm because it's easy access. And if we have a toolbox that's just there, but we're not utilizing it, if we've forgotten what's in it, we're obviously not going to open the toolbox up and pick something out. So I want you to be really aware of what self-care tools do you already have in your toolbox that are a go-to every day for you. Jot them in the chat box so we can all experience and think, aha, that's a good one to choose. So remember, we're a group and you've got the wealth of everyone, the wealth of everyone's wisdom here, not just mine. So put it in the toolbox. Put your tool, a tool, in the tool chat box. Okay, Alita's saying mindfulness. Yes, being still, being attuned to what is going on in the current moment and noticing your distractions, but then just letting them go. And I'm glad that was such a helpful session, Alita. So jot down your favorite topic or what particular tools. Do you know 5? Have you got 5 tools? Just put one down as it comes to your mind. Put it in the chat box so we can all hear from each of you. Another way to answer that question might be, what's the number one thing you've learnt and applied from these sessions? And you might think to yourself now, oh, I've learnt that. So put that in the chat box. But if you've learnt it and applied it, that is success, okay? So Margaret's put caring for myself so I can care for others. My word, Margaret, thank you. And Carol, mindfulness also. And I noticed you are a really mindful person, Carol, in just absorbing the current moment and really tuning in to the conversation. So, you know, a little review doesn't go astray. Actually, review is paramount to any sort of learning and personal development and professional development. We all do that with our staff appraisals. We just take that for granted when we're on a team in an organization and doing staff appraisals. I remember in my previous organization, I used to give lots of staff appraisals and gave plenty of time for my staff to reflect on what they needed more of that I could give them, what they needed more of that the organization could give them, and what they were contributing and how they saw their strengths and things they could work on. So you need time to reflect on that, but it's great seeing what you're writing in the chat box. Keep on caring, says Carol. Thank you, Carol. And William saying a positive mindset. So all of these things, thanks, William. Developing a positive mindset, being able to look at things differently because of the choices we make. You know, it's interesting. Sometimes, keep on putting them in the chat box as I speak, but sometimes we've all got, if you think of a first aid kit, we've got it. I actually went out, I got from the car, this is very dirty, hasn't been opened for ages, a first aid kit that's in my car. Ashamedly, I have no idea what's in it because I haven't looked in it for years. And that's the point. You might not need it for years. And I'm going to be, this is about being authentic. There could be a snail in here for all I know. Okay, so I've got, there's no terrible surprises. I've got a whistle. I'd forgotten that. Oh my goodness. Sorry, Sasha. So sorry I scared our beautiful golden retriever. I had no idea I had a whistle in my first aid kit. So if I was scared of someone doing road rage or something and coming up to me at my car, because I have it right behind my passenger seat, my front passenger seat, I could easily just access that and open the car window and get a whistle and blow it. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know I had this. So I've just surprised myself. I want it to be authentic and real and just show you I'm human with all sorts of surprises. But I've got the basic things here. Gloves, yes, if I need to do mouth to mouth on anyone, emergency thermal blanket, and I've got the natural bandages and alcohol swabs, etc. So, you know, I didn't know what I had here. And my point is, it's important to know what we have in our toolkit so we can actually use it. I've got more of an idea of what I have in my medicine cabinet in our pantry, okay, because that's more, that gets used more readily. But the important thing is, know what you've got in your toolkit. Do you know, can I have some more answers on, do you know what would your top 5 be? Even if you just think of the first 2 that get you started, put them in the comments section so we can hear from you. You see, toolkits are imperative for solving problems or preventing issues that can escalate. really quickly, right? They're used for resolving common concerns in our material world. But what toolkits do we have in our well-being world? Where does that spring up from? You see, we'll go visit a doctor or a specialist if we're feeling physically unwell. And if you're experiencing a form of mental struggle, you'll go and see a counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And if you're energetically out of balance, you might visit a kinesiologist. But, you know, then there's other spaces in between these levels of severity. And that's what we're going to look at today. If you cut yourself shaving, or if you need to cover a wound with a Band-Aid, or the bystander, you know, in the queue speaks to you really rudely, you'll go and receive support from a loved one and share that. You'll process it, right? So we need to do a shift in our body and our energy when things do go wrong. And what do we have up our sleeve? I find yoga really helpful. Unfortunately, I only do it once a week at the moment, but I would love to incorporate that 2 or 3 times because it is very, very helpful. Hello, Kristen. Come on in. It's telling me to wave at you. So what are the things that are in your toolkit already? What is your go-to when you cut your finger, metaphorically, in your heart or in your mind? What is your natural go-to in your toolkit? Do you know the things that are there? Because what happens if you don't have the right tools at your disposal for the emergency at hand? What's going to happen to you in your well-being? You see, this is where your toolkit on your arm or wherever you want to place it, metaphorically, comes in handy. And you may only use it for the odd emergency, or you, on the other hand, it's really important to be using every day, relying on it every day to ground you, to empower you, to strengthen you, to give you wisdom in circumstances, in relationships that are really important for you to take a step back. You see, it's imperative to fill our tank before we can fill our loved ones' tanks. And so we need to be really mindful of what we have in place. And so it might be just herbal tea. I have my lemon in water. It could be herbal tea for you, or essential oils. I also have on. I've got eucalyptus peppermint oil on at the moment. It might be soothing music. It could be meditation or writing in a beautiful journal. What are your go-tos immediately that can empower you and give you wisdom and discernment and strength, and can soothe you? They might contain less tangible elements as well, like setting an intention, checking in with yourself each morning to actually see that you are okay, and using positive affirmations to be able to strengthen you along your journey. I know I have a client who actually shared the story of where she has a 10-minute walk to her office from where she parks the car. And she does a positive affirmation every morning as she walks to work of how she can build herself up in focusing on her strengths and the beautiful things that have come into her life, even though she's had a painful one, but the beautiful things that she has brought in. And she affirms herself every morning before she opens that door to her organization to start work. A beautiful way of being able to use soothing and strengthening in her toolkit. So what are yours? Carol has written, give myself time to be still and reflect and talk to God. Beautiful, Carol. Yeah, he's a wonderful healer and a wonderful comforter, and great to be in relationship with him. And William has talked about, thanks William, walking along the river and reflecting. Just taking that time out to notice things in our environment and to choose what of those things, those aspects like the sunshine, the light, the warmth, do we want to bring into our lives, and what are the things that are in the environment that we want to close off, that no longer serve us anymore. So, you know, when we can identify, you might surprise yourself by identifying what makes you tick and what enables you to be empowered to let go of what no longer serves you and to fill your tank, to fill your heart with the things that really are replenishing and the things that really do serve you well. Richard is saying you've had surgery on your shoulder 2 weeks ago, you're coming off pain relief and you use music to fall asleep at night. You're normally very busy but housebound at the moment. And so good on you, Richard. Soothing music, I find that so helpful also. And meditating, especially when you're in pain after having surgery, to actually soothe your heart and your mind to give you that rest that you so need after surgery. Thanks for sharing, Richard. So we all have different tools of the trade. And yours will be undoubtedly changing through the different seasons of life. The tools that you used at the beginning of COVID will be somewhat different now as the restrictions are lessening. But it's important to continue to have different tools, to check inside your toolbox, to do more of what I know is in this type of toolbox for me, my home first aid kit, rather than not having a clue with what was in this dirty car first aid kit. And I surprised myself. So look into your first aid kit of your well-being first aid. You see, we're all uniquely and wonderfully made. So because we're so different, we're all going to have different tools that are in our top 5 tools. Okay, the key is to know your own. And Margaret said her tool is thanking God for another refreshing sleep to face another day. It's as simple as that, Margaret. You are so right. It's as simple as being grateful for who we have and what we have. And we may have lost our loved ones, our most favorite loved one of all. But adding on to that grief, we can still be grateful for all the loved ones we still do have. So it's finding what refreshes you, what restores you, what replenishes you. And I'm just going to give you my 5 top to help you along the way, because I want to be hearing more of what are in your top 5. Now go further. You've said 1, each of you. Go further. What's in your top 3 or 4? So for me, and this is what I've noticed about research as well, with the 30 years experience in this field of work that I've had, that what I'm noting down as my top 5 are pretty essential ones for life as well. And the first one is self-compassion. And you know, this is such an important area. I'm going to leave it as a whole topic on another day. But the art of self-compassion starts with self-acceptance. And so it's about empathy as well. So self-acceptance and being empathic to ourselves. We did a session on empathy recently, at one aspect of empathy, and hopping into the other person's shoes so we can really understand their world as it is for them. And do we do that same thing for us? Do we hop into our world, take some time of silence to really get what it's like for us rather than pretending it's not happening? Because you see, if we actually look at self-compassion and understanding what it is like to just accept where we're at in this moment, instead of comparing ourselves with others, there's been research done on this. You see, you can't feel your own suffering if you can't feel other people's suffering if you don't feel your own. But likewise, if you're not prepared to feel your own, you just can't have any capacity to grow and then develop that capacity for others. And often we do these comparative suffering studies in our brain every day. How many times would have you heard people talk about, through this COVID-19 season, of people saying, and I know I've done it myself, you know, I'm so grateful for what I have, so I minimize, well, actually, my suffering has been, I do acknowledge my suffering has been nothing compared to others. But there's been other people who I've heard whose suffering is immense, like they've lost a job, they are in lockdown in their family with, you know, 4 or 5 kids that they were dealing with homeschooling and toddlers, and having their husband at home that just really drove them crazy. And there would be often a phrase of, you know, we compare, and it's natural, at least I'm not dying, you know, and it's true. It's true. At least I'm not dying of COVID, or I'm not out on the front line being scared every day with, you know, what it was like in Italy or England and now the States in New York. Just how desperate those situations were. But when we compare our suffering, the emotions we could have the capacity to feel, we actually deny them, and then we don't actually grow. They don't go away. They just get put aside whilst we pretend that they're not there. And then it disables us from practicing self-compassion. See, when we practice self-compassion, we can then be compassionate to ourselves. That enables us to move on and be compassionate with others. So it's actually an equation. We actually grow through it, move through the situation rather than getting stuck in it. Because you see, let's just make a commitment to stop ranking our suffering on a gauge with others. You see, empathy is the ability to feel someone else's pain or hop into their shoes. And when we do that, it lessens their pain just by us being able to acknowledge it. So when we can acknowledge that within ourselves, our own pain, it automatically becomes smaller in our mind because we've acknowledged it, we've named it, and we're able to move through it. So it's a gift we can give ourselves, because you see, fear and insecurity has been a part of COVID-19. But if we can't feel our own, you know, a lot of people say, I can't even talk about my suffering because so many people are dying. And that comparative study that goes on in your brain gets you stuck then from just acknowledging, even quietly, what suffering you have had. So that helps you move to the next level of that then, of being empowered to move on and empowered to give empathy and compassion to others. So let's look at this. Margaret's, yes, I've mentioned that. Jody, being closer to God in nature has been a great tool for you in your toolkit. Couldn't agree with you more. Being in nature, I just find, oh, it's a holiday, just having half an hour in nature. Meditation and the power of words was one of your favorite topics, Alita. Thank you. And William saying, I tell myself it's okay to feel sad or flat, accept it and move on. Beautiful. You've summarized it perfectly, William. And Margaret saying, stretching my aging body, classical music, which helps the brain, Margaret. There's so much research on classical music, stretching your brain, having good nutrition, meditation, and connecting with loved ones. You've nailed it. Okay, so I'm going to quickly move to the second one of mine, which is commitment to growth. And you all do that. You're committed to growth by being here. So it's obvious if you're listening to it on the replays, you have nailed that one as well. You are showing that you are conscious of always wanting to learn and elevate your personal well-being and your professional well-being, which follows naturally, and then your family and community well-being, which has that ripple effect. And the third one for me is managing my mindset. I've just put these in alliteration so it can help you more. Managing your mindset. I won't say, well, I'll just say a tiny bit about that because we've focused on it before. But you do control your mindset and attitude. You see, if you focus on failures or setbacks, whatever you imagine those to be, your body and behavior is going to respond, and you'll feel demoralized and paralyzed. You'll feel stuck and hopeless. But on the other hand, if you manage your mindset and choose what you put into your brain, you create your beliefs. You are your thoughts. That beautiful Bible verse that says, as a person thinks, so they are. Your perceptions of the world gradually and sometimes drastically, very quickly change when you manage your mindset and to choose the things that you know you can change. So it's just taking that step back and asking yourself and understanding what you think, what you observe, and what you imagine. So much of that becomes true because you are training your brain to go that pathway, and your brain doesn't know the difference between what you choose to imagine and set as your goal and reality. It does not know the difference, and that's the power in knowing that you are in charge of your mental environment and the reality that you create. Again, well done, William. You've summed it up. You are not what you think you are what you think. Beautiful. Oh, I just love your summaries, William. Thank you. So the fourth one, I'll just go through. First one was self-compassion and empathy. Second one, commitment to growth. Third, manage your mindset. The fourth one is decide your direction. Go back to that video session that we looked at in deciding your direction with goal setting and how you visualized your specific goals. The fifth one is my fifth tool in my toolbox, finding forgiveness. Self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others. Again, that's such a deep topic, and the people who know me know I'm passionate about this topic, and I've written the chapter in this book on finding forgiveness. So the freedom that forgiveness brings. So I encourage you to go onto my website if you haven't bought that already. I'm selling them now only for $20 for those who are in this group as a beautiful gift of a discount. And all you need to do is not pay for the postage, which is $10 anyway. So you just pay the $30, which is the $20 for the book, which includes the discount because it was $30. But for you guys in the Elevate Your Wellbeing Contagious Care group, you can buy my book for $20 and just pay that extra $10 for the shipment. So welcome to go online there, heathermcalpineconsulting.com, to be able to buy that. And Jodie's written, we are who God says we are, not what we think we are. Beautiful. So we are God's creation. We've all been created by Him, which is just so mind-blowing in itself when we think about that. So it's lovely to hear your expressions of knowing your value and knowing your worth. And that's where the wisdom in this group just ripples and expands. And then I'm just going to give you a sixth and a seventh tool really quickly in my toolkit because I can, because I'm allowed. And it's activate your action. Act on what we've looked at in today's session. Your 5 top tools, discover what they are and become aware of how you want to change, add more tools, knowing the value that they are. So activate your action. Make a decision to take action today. And the last one I'm going to give you, there's so many tools we can choose, but another one is have fun and have a go. And the reason why I've put this painting up today, it's a famous piece of art. I can't remember the author, the artist, but I won it. And it demonstrates to me that it's fun. These people just hopping in a boat, having fun. I wonder if I can, no, I won't bother. But just visualize that with what you can see. on a beach, people having fun in their rowboats. And the reason why I chose to put that painting up today, because 10 years ago, I won it on a cruise that John had organized for me to celebrate being cancer-free. And I'd gone through a year of chemo and radiation and operations. And this was the celebration time. And on this cruise, they have art auctions of all things. And I don't know a thing about art. But the thing was, I thought, I'm going to go to an art auction and see what that's like. And so I did. And although I don't know a thing about art, I listened to the auctioneer, and he just said a couple of things in the first 5 minutes about artwork. And I remembered it at the end of the auction. And when he said, well, I'm giving this prize, that very painting there, when he said, I'm giving this prize to the person who can remember, I just put my hand up straight away. I can't even remember the question now. But the point is, I had fun. I tried something new and I had a go. So that's my other tool for the toolkit today. Have fun and have a go. And we're going to have a lot of fun next session on Thursday at 11 a.m. with Patty Duque, a dear co-author, friend of mine now, who's coming as guest speaker. And she's going to speak on a simple tip that will change your life. So I look forward to having her and you guys with us on Thursday. And then John, my lovely husband, is the next guest speaker on the following Thursday. And he's going to be speaking on trust. So we're going to shift now. That's why I've given you the book sale at $20, because we're shifting from well-being topics back to relationship topics over the next few weeks. And we're going to be shifting also because of the lessening of restrictions, the less restrictions now. We're going to, at the end of this month, so only 2 more weeks to go, of us having Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we're just going to go to having Tuesdays. And I'll have some guest speakers and sometimes myself on the Tuesday sessions. And I'll continue them because I know through all your text messages and your messages on this wellbeing group, I know you're getting value for it. So we'll continue over the next, who knows, life will unfold, but I will continue on Tuesdays after the end of June. So until then, be brave. Be life-giving and let your light shine. And I'm activating my action right now because I've noticed some symptoms in my body and I'm off to the doctor right this moment. Bye.